what sucks a lot? Getting your tonsils out. And you wanna know what sucks even more? Getting your tonsils out and having special needs. And do you wanna know what also sucks? I recorded this entire process over the last almost 7 days now, and today my iPad decided to delete the whole thing. I was doing video updates anytime I had a second with all my thoughts, all my tips, and all my tricks, and it's all gone. So I decided that I'm gonna go ahead and try to start fresh. My daughter is immobile, she is nonverbal, she is tube fed, so she's completely NPO, cannot have popsicles, jello, ice water, absolutely nothing by mouth, everything goes in her feeding tube. She has neurological issues, she has endocrine issues, she has seizures, dysautonomia, and her heart rate and blood pressure, and pretty much everything that you can think of. She has no idea what is going on. I know that her recovery is going to be a lot different than anything that I was able to find online. Personally, I'm a very visual learner, and I like to watch and listen and know what's going to happen. I'm a control freak. I am a planner. I like knowing what to expect. I don't like surprises. I couldn't find a podcast, a video, or anything to document what this experience is like with a child like mine, who is very different from other children. So I felt it necessary to document everything. And of course today, I've lost it. So, went in for our daughter's tonsillectomy, adenoidectomy, and T-tubes on January 7th. They got her back for surgery really quickly. When she came out of the OR, they sent her straight up to the intensive care unit. I was a little surprised that they sent her to ICU right away. I quickly understood really well why they put her there. Her body normally reacts to pain and stress by trying to shut down. She went hypothermic. Her electrolyte levels, especially her sodium, were all over the place. They were way too high and they were way too low. Her heart rate was way too high and way too low. It was a mess. So they moved her to intensive care. They had to put her on the bear hugger to bring up her body temperature, which in turn stabilized her heart rate, and everything seemed to be okay. They did try to tell me that they were going to be using ibuprofen and Tylenol for pain management. Now, my daughter cannot even have a popsicle or ice cream or anything orally, so that did not sit well with me. When she woke up, she was absolutely distraught. She had a bunch of secretions and blood coming out of her mouth. She was thrashing about, she was confused, she had no idea what had just happened. So that is the point when they started the oxycodone and realized pretty quickly that Tylenol and ibuprofen were not going to cut it for her pain management. I do not understand why they are so hesitant to give kids like her actual pain medication. She cannot even have a glass of water. That is fucking miserable when you get your tonsils out. She cannot have a popsicle. She cannot have ice cream. She cannot have jello. She cannot have a cold glass of milk. She cannot have anything to soothe her throat. Anyway, they did end up giving her the pain medication inpatient. It made her very sleepy. She did sleep a lot more than she usually does, which is never. The first night really wasn't that bad. I was like, oh, you know, my daughter's such a champ, right? Like, she's handling this really well. It's really not that bad. We were quickly notified that same night that almost everyone in intensive care was intensely sick with viral respiratory stuff. It's January, so cold and flu season. People on either side were sick and contagious. Everyone was freaking contagious. This is something that I did not even think about going into this. My daughter's immune system is completely screwed. We are really, really good about not getting her sick, because if she was to get the RSV or flu, we don't know if we would even be able to bring her home from the hospital. This is deadly for kids like my daughter. The next morning, I decided to talk with her team of doctors about potentially sending us home. I know that that sounds weird considering she's in intensive care, she's on a bear hugger because she's hypothermic, her heart rate is too high and too low, and she's on all these medications. We have like a miniature intensive care setup in our home. So I decided to kindly ask her doctors if they would trust me to take her home for the duration of her recovery. Every single one of them agreed. They did not want her getting sick. We have all the necessary equipment. We were ready. We never sleep anyway. We blasted the heater in the van and did the heated blanket all the way home. And we got here after like the 24-hour mark of her being out of the OR. During the second day at home, so after the 24-hour mark going into the second day, she did okay, a small bit irritable. She became a little fussy. She was still having bouts of hypothermia, and her heart rate was still a little bit wonky, but everything was stable for the most part. We have a humidifier at home, a really good humidifier, and so we had that next to her. We live in a very dry climate, so we knew that it was going to be of most importance to keep her nasal passages and her throat as moist as we could during this time, especially because she cannot drink. The hospital sent us home with a huge bag of the mouth swabs. It looks like a lollipop stick with a sponge on the end, and you can get it wet in some sterile water and put it in their mouth to moisturize it. So if your child can tolerate those mouth swabs, those are absolutely necessary for this recovery. Around the 36-hour mark was when things started kind of going downhill. I could tell that the pain was on its way. But it was nothing compared to what was about to happen. So going into day 3, that was when the pain really was starting to hit. Around Thursday afternoon, that would have been around the 50-hour mark, she started making a strange noise. It was like a very repetitive, constant moaning noise. It sounded like she was trying to cry, but she couldn't like fully cry. So she moaned and moaned and moaned until her next round of pain medicine kicked in and she finally fell asleep. She woke up completely distraught. Absolutely, she could not be bothered with any effort to comfort her or make her feel better. She moaned probably for about 10 minutes, and that turned into like a really intense whimpering, which turned into full-blown screaming for about 5 hours. When you get your tonsils out, around that same time, it hurts to even speak, but she does not understand that making noises make the pain worse. So she began to scream and scream and scream. In turn, that made the pain worse, which made her scream more, and it was a vicious loop of increased pain and screaming for hours until she finally passed out. She slept pretty much all night. She woke up Friday morning, and she had a decent morning. It was okay. Very lethargic and just agitated and did not want me near her. Was pushing me away and kicking me away from her. She just didn't want me anywhere near her. She was so upset at me. But the day was not terrible. Around probably 1 or 2 p.m., she did not whimper. She did not moan. She straight went into another crying rage. This time she was screaming and crying constantly. When I say constantly, I'm talking no breaks in between at all. Probably for about 6 to 7 hours that night. That night, even after giving her the full dose of pain medication and giving her her ibuprofen and giving her Tylenol and giving her increased cannabis, she was still in obvious pain. I'm talking hours after her doses had been given. She's still screaming. It was not touching the pain at all. On Friday night, she woke up in a fantastic mood. It was almost like she was back to normal. She was acting normal, very happy, no pain at all that night. I thought to myself, wow, today is like day 4, like we're about to go into day 5. Like, maybe the worst is over. We woke up the next day, which was Saturday. She had a wonderful day on Saturday, and then Saturday night hit. And the pain level for her was worse than ever. This little girl has been through some shit in her life. I had never seen her in that much agony and that much physical pain. I know that this is a routine surgery. It's done often, but don't let anyone fool you. This is a major surgery, and it fucking hurts. At this point, I am feeling so guilty for putting her through this. I am feeling Like, I give this surgery a 0 stars, 0 out of 0. I'm feeling like I would never recommend this to anybody. No amount of telling her that it's going to get better is going to affect how she goes through this. She does not understand that it's going to get better. Today is Sunday, the end of day 6. And all previous days when I thought that it was the worst day possible, I take it back. Today was even worse. It's almost unbearable to watch her going through this, not being able to reassure her, not being able to give her a popsicle, not being able to express to her that this is going to end. We are doing round-the-clock cares right now with all her pain medication, her mouth swabs. We got the Tylenol, we got the ibuprofen, we got the Oxy. We've got 2 different types of cannabis oil that we're rotating. We have her humidifier running constantly. She still needs her diaper changes. She still needs her feeds. She still needs her supplements. It is round-the-clock care right now. Nobody is sleeping. You are not going to be doing anything after this except surviving and taking care of your child. Even if you're already doing nothing but surviving, ramp that up by, 50 times that, okay? Nothing is getting done. This is extremely hard on you as a caregiver that already has a very heavy load on your shoulders. You have the world on your shoulders already, and then imagine someone dropping freaking Jupiter on top of that. I don't know why, but I had several nurses and doctors try to downplay this situation. I understand that every child is different, but for my daughter with severe special needs, I've never seen her in so much pain. A few times I was like, oh, we got this. It's really not that bad. Yes, it is. It's, I don't like this. Today's been the worst day for sure. We are in the thick of it right now. And let's see how tomorrow goes. Tomorrow will be Monday. 0 stars for this surgery.
Here's Nova tonight. She is getting ready for bed. Can you say hi, Nova? Can you say hi?
So she is on her continuous pulse ox right now. She's got good vitals tonight. I have her humidifier here, however, it's not turned on. I have this on a little makeshift area so that it can be tall enough to be next to her at all times. We have our oxygen concentrator here. We actually had to get a brand new one dropped off at our house today because the old one stopped working. Anyway, there's her tonight. I wanted to give you guys a little peek at her, show you guys just some essential supplies that I think are really great to have during this time. I know this seems weird, but if you get sent home with a script of narcotics, you're going to need these because the constipation is real right now, y'all. These are the swabs that we got sent home with from the hospital. I always have to have my gloves. Usually I would not have gotten them from Kroger's, but these were the only ones that I could find and hurry before surgery. This stuff is great in place of toothpaste. This is just some antiseptic that you can also put on those swabs. Here is her pain medication, her Oxy. Please make sure that you go home with a script for this, and do not let them tell you that you're only going to need ibuprofen and Tylenol, because that is not true. That is a bold-faced lie. Make sure that you get your script for this when you go home from the hospital. Here is her cannabis oil. This is our saving grace every single day, and I have really found it helpful to give her a little bit extra of this when she is struggling really bad. We're rotating right now between this one and her THCA. This is my planner, so it's a mess. I'm not even going to open it up for you, but make sure that you have a nice notebook or a planner to write your schedule down. I have our complete schedule right now written down in here. I keep it open and I keep it on my counter during the day. Make sure that you have one of those to keep organized, because things are going to be getting hectic. 2020, we're hectic up in here. Like I said, the constipation is real. She gets this every single day, but because she is on the narcotics, I have upped the dose on this stuff a little bit. So we get these 10cc syringes delivered to us every month, which have really come in handy for like the ibuprofen, which is 15. So we're not using our little 6cc syringes, but you're also probably going to want to make sure that you have some 1cc. These come in handy for that pain medication. If you get sent home with the same one that we did, it's like really small amounts, so I would not really feel comfortable trying to appropriately measure it in a bigger syringe. If laxatives, enemas, or what have you are not cutting it, notice that giving about half a pouch to her works really good to get her going. Liquid glycerin suppository. They are different from the little bullet glycerin suppositories. I like these so much. They work really, really quickly, and if the bullet doesn't really work for your child and you do not want to do a full enema, these are a great alternative. The last thing, if you can get your hands on some of these, definitely get them, because if your child is on continuous pulse ox, during this process, or even if they're on continuous pulse ox just on a regular basis, these things are awesome. Hi everyone. I think it's Monday. It's either Monday or Tuesday. Pretty sure it's Monday. It has been an okay day for her. She is still in a lot of pain, and this morning, unfortunately, we had to hold off on her pain medication because I needed her to be a little more awake because she needed an enema today. And then she started to experience a lot of pain afterwards and needed her medication. So she has not really been into sitting during this recovery. She just wants to lay down and snuggle up with her blankets and her pillows. Totally understandable. But today she was up for sitting on the sofa for a while, and she gave us some smiles. She's exhausted, y'all. Tomorrow will be 1 full week. It has been a hell of a time, and she's exhausted. Her little body is just very tired right now, so I think that some kids are probably feeling a whole lot better by now. I would say that things are still pretty rough for her. Today was okay. It was all right. I ended up having to call her doctor's office today to get a refill sent in of her prescription narcotic because we're pretty much out of it at this point, and she's definitely going to need more. There's no way that we're going to wake up tomorrow morning and she's not going to be in any pain and everything's just going to be great. But they were really great and understanding, and they were like, you are not the first person that needed some extra and you just ran out, and it's okay, we got you. You know, she's not going to suffer through this. So hey, hi big girl. What are you doing? What's up, baby? Hi. Who's that pretty girl? Look at that pretty girl. What the heck was I saying? Yeah, I remembered what I was saying. So today I got a really good look down her throat, and you know how when the scabs start falling off, you are kind of going through the worst of it? Nobody's scabs are still intact. It seems like she's healing really slowly. So I'm at this point kind of hesitant to believe that the worst of everything is over because those scabs still have to come off. So that's not gonna be fun. No, but it's always a party with you, huh? Yeah. Look at that pretty girl. You know, she's still going through it, but today was not as bad as yesterday. We're gonna probably put on some Netflix or something and just snuggle up in her bed and try to get some rest. So I will check in with you guys again tomorrow. One more thing. So this probably goes without saying, when you're going through this as a caregiver, pick your poison and make sure that you have a lot of it, because without energy drinks and coffee right now, I'd be absolutely dying. So today's Tuesday. As of this morning, it has been a full 7 days since Nova had her tonsillectomy done. Things are pretty still much the same. I think that they are a little less intense in terms of her hypothermia, her heart rate, and in that regard, she seems pretty much back to normal. However, she is still very sleepy. She is still on her pain medication. She's still having a lot of pain. This morning, she woke up. She screamed for a few hours this morning, so she's definitely still experiencing some pain at this point. She has not even lost her scabs yet. Her scabs are still completely intact, so those have to come off. That being said, when I spoke to her doctor's office, the consensus is kind of that the next week is probably going to be very similar to the first week, minus the more intense symptoms with her dysautonomia and her endocrine stuff. I have decided that this is going to be the last recording that I make right now of how this process has gone. So these are my final thoughts on this first week. Before you have this done, make sure that you grocery shop and maybe prep some meals to store in your freezer that you can dump in your crock pot or your Instant Pot, and just get that done so that you have something healthy to eat, because you will have no time to cook through this. Make sure that your apartment or your house is stocked with medical supplies, including Tylenol or ibuprofen, lots of syringes. Make sure you have all your diapers and your wipes. Make sure that you have some enemas on hand, or if you're going to be using laxatives, your milk of mag or your prune juice or whatever you like to use. Make sure that you come home from the hospital with your mouth swabs. Also at your house, do not skip out on a humidifier. I think that Nova's humidifier helped her a lot throughout this process, and it's going to stay next to her for the next week as well. If you have any family or friends near you, take any help that you can get. I'm a very stubborn person. I do not like to ask for help in my home, but if you have family or another special needs mom in your area that is trained to deal with children like ours, don't be afraid to ask them to come sit with them for a couple hours so that you can take a nap. Just take any help that you can get, for sure. Cancel any doctor's appointments or therapies that you have for at least a week and a half. I know that it's kind of a stretch, but if you can do 2 weeks, I would definitely recommend that. A few nights before her surgery, I actually prepped as many medications as I could. I did prep some enteral bags with sterile water. I sterilized the vegetable drawer in my fridge, and I stored a week's worth of her enteral bags with sterile water. If you have any medications that are in pill form, what I did was I put them inside of syringes, and I put them in a cup, I labeled the cup, and I stuck it on my counter. I did not add water to the syringes. You cannot do that. You can't add water in advance so that everything's just liquefied and good to go. But you can place them in the syringes and have them sitting in the cup, so that way, like, Nova takes her supplements twice a day. It took a small load off me. You know what I mean? Just little things like that. So when her supplements are due, I could go grab the syringe, draw water into them, and they're just there and they're good to go. So that was really helpful. I think, like I said earlier, I had a few physicians try to downplay what this was going to be like. It ended up being a very painful and traumatic experience on her body. I would definitely consider what your child's typical reaction to stressful or traumatic situations on their body is like. I would just consider how your child normally reacts to a pretty traumatic situation, because especially the first like 5 days, it really, really sucks. Extra secretions, congestion, and a really obstructive sounding, rattly sound is normal for even a few weeks, several weeks after surgery. If you have a suction machine, you might want to have that sterilized and handy and ready to go in case you need to use that for extra secretions. Nobody told me to expect that, but apparently that is very true. I would definitely recommend getting that script for the narcotic before you leave the hospital, even if you're not doing it every single day, just as a backup for when things get really bad. I think that it's very important for us as caregivers to know that it is not going to stay like this forever. It is going to get better. I can't say for sure right now. I don't know for sure right now if this is all going to be worth it for Nova. We just don't know if it's worth it yet. But at the risk of sounding optimistic too soon, I can tell you this. I monitor Novalee's vitals 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And I have noticed that especially in the past couple days, her oxygen levels throughout the day are a lot better than they were before we did this. And she is not even close to being healed all the way yet. So I think that this might have been worth it. I'm not really seeing any huge dips in her oxygen levels when she sleeps. So we're going to get a repeat sleep study in 3 months to see if this helped with her obstructive apnea. We will know then for sure. But this is just speculation, but I think that it has helped. I kind of am seeing that already. So anyway, it does get better. You can do this. This has been a fucking horrible experience, and I never want to experience a week like this again in her life. But this has been our experience. I know that it has not been pretty. I cannot wait for this to be over and get back to real life. That was our first week post-op of the tonsillectomy and the adenoidectomy. Not great. Not great. Hang in there, guys. It gets better. We're not quite there yet, but thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment below, and I'll try to get back to those. And if not, I hope that this video can reach someone that is like me, and just wanted to know a little more in-depth what to expect. So good luck, everybody. You can do this, and good luck to all your kiddos. I hope that it's worth it in the long run to get this done for them. I know that none of this is easy, but to my special needs family, you can do it. You guys are so strong, and good luck to each and every one of you. I love you, and I love your kids, and I hope that you guys get through this a lot easier than we did. So.